Let's get into game one of this semifinals. Excuse me, coughing into the microphone again. Spawning in the lower right-hand corner of Gresvan, we have our blue Terran player. For Team Liquid, it's Clem. His opponent in the upper left. Did I say lower right for Clem? I don't know. It is the Shopify Rebellion's Lambo. We're off to a good start here. Friendly reminder, if you're watching this on YouTube, to hit that subscribe button so that you can make sure to see all the cool games I put on YouTube. And if you're watching in Twitch chat, also subscribe to my YouTube. Please, I would really appreciate it. I'm trying to get those subscriber numbers up. Maybe one day it'd be cool to make, you know, like $4 a month off of my YouTube. That'd be pretty dope. We're raking in that ad revenue from both YouTube and Twitch. Start making something crazy like $10, $12 a month on ad revenue. I mean, that's how you know you've made it. Start crunching the numbers, doing some calculations on how many days of work can I take off if I make $12 a month. None. The answer is none. Colossal Gulp for the raid. Hope you had a lovely stream. We're getting into the good stuff here right now, as it is semifinals time of this EPT Cup. Obviously, we're on a 2-minute delay for the live stream for the competitive integrity of the players. We trust these players, but there are some shady characters that sometimes show up in these big open brackets, so gotta be aware. Clem's Reaper control obviously going to be top-notch here, but it is just the one Reaper, just being a little annoying with it. It's been really interesting, actually, watching so much Korean TVZ with Cure and Beyond and Maru and Gumiho and all these guys opening with the 2 racks Reaper. But Clem not going for it. I feel like the Europeans not adopting that opening. Not that I've seen anyways. It's been all Korea, and it's actually one of the cool things that I feel like we missed for a while, is that kind of divergent meta between Korea and Europe. You know, during the pandemic, we had so many cross-server tournaments, and we still have a lot, but everything was just cross-server tournaments all the time during the pandemic. So all the metas kind of converged for a while, but now that we've gone back, we've separated a little bit. The players have a lot of their own specific regional events. I think those metas have really started to develop separately again, and I mentioned it in PvP earlier with a lot of what was happening in those matchups, how aggressive the Koreans tend to be versus the passive play of a lot of European Protosses. And yeah, this TVZ opening here, Clem opening kind of the old style, whereas pretty much all the Koreans open with the 2 racks Reaper at least most of the time these days. It's kind of cool. Now this has developed into a very, very normal TVZ here out of Clem. Nothing crazy at all. He's got Cloak Banshee on the way. He's got Hellions out with his Reaper. Very standard stuff. Lambo just playing defensively. Ling Queen trying to get the drone count up. Probably going to be looking for a 4th base in the not too distant future, but doesn't really need to stress about it. We'll see how base-heavy Lambo wants to go for. I've seen Dark actually play a little bit more conservative with the bases lately. I thought that was kind of cool. He'll drone up pretty heavily, but he's not always itching for that next base. And I think that leaves him a little less vulnerable. There's been a few times where we'll see the Terrans show up where a 4th base should be or a 5th base should be, and there's just nothing there. And then they're like, oh, they can't do anything. And then the counterattack hits, and they're like, wow, I'm doing no damage. And damage is being dealt to me. This is not how it's supposed to go. And then immediately after that all happens, Dark just takes the base. He's like, yeah, it's a little late, but I took no damage, so it worked out. It's been kind of a cool thing that Dark has been doing. Hellion's going to dive in here. The drones, though, good pull away from Lambo. Gets them out of there. And immediately starts up a Spire. Ooh, okay. Lambo wants to play some Lingbane Muta against Clem. That's kind of fun. Don't see Lingbane Muta all that often these days. I feel like it's usually either straight up just Lingbane, or maybe you'll mix in the Hydras pretty quickly. The Cloak Banshee's coming over. I think there's an Overseer. Okay, there it is. There's actually 2 Overseers. And the Transfuse is going to keep these Queens alive. Good snipe there on one of the Banshees as well. The Hellions run away. Clem not going for a scan, not trying to clear creep, going straight for the drones. A little bit more of a bold move here. It's been working out for him so far. Well, he really wanted to get another shot on the drones, though. Gets out of there with 3 kills, and most of the Hellions still alive. These Hellions have done a great job posturing around without dying. I think a couple have gone down. No, none have died. Okay, yeah, no, he's done a great job at keeping all of these Hellions alive. It's actually very impressive. This third base is up and running, getting into Marine tank behind this, of course, as you'd expect. The Spire is done. Muta's starting to come out. +1 started up on that Spire as well, so Lambo is going. He's planning on committing to these units. +1 flyer attacks is done before the Evo chambers. Lambo really prioritizing those Mutas in this game, but that's very dicey here. Clem is already pushing out with the Marine Widowmine. And I'll tell you, Muta's not that good when they're on their own against Marine Mine. They need some friends. They need those Lings and Banes. Are a decent amount of Lings out still. A few Banelings popping here. The Queen's going to start pushing this away. So the Widowmines get a couple of shots off, but not on the juicy Ling Bane. And now as we have the lift up, those Mutas have been spotted. Medevac's got a boost on out of there. Lambo pushes this back, and he's going to keep on pressuring, but there's a lot more Marines where that came from. This is where it does get a little bit dicey, because now the Mutas are forced to defend. They have to be a part of this defense. They can't go across and harass. But this does mean that if Clem can't push through here, there's not a lot of retreat options. Oh, the Lings from the back. Widowmines hitting beautifully. But the Banelings diving in. The Lings get the full surround, forcing the lift up. Clem, though, saves a lot of those Marines in the medevacs. He drops them back down. Forcing more Banes to morph here for Lambo. God, those Widowmines got some insanely huge connections. Mutas sitting around the side. More Mutas in production right now for Lambo. He's got 9 of them up. It's a decent amount, but he can't take really any fights against the Marines. Can't pick off some Widowmines. Yeah, see, losing a Muta there, painful. Marines trying to catch these Mutas in the middle. Ooh, Stims, another Muta goes down. These Muta losses are very painful early on. Really don't want to lose the Mutas until they get to a big enough number and your economy is good enough where you can just pump out, overcome, go for the full Hydra head scenario. You kill 1, 2 more show up. Lambo is getting to that point, though. He is at 97 drones. He's going super heavy economy. Clem's 4th base is now up and running, though. He's on 74 workers, and he's keeping this pressure on. No scans, though, to clear the creep. I'm very surprised about that. He must just be out of energy or something. He might have just dropped mules on the 4th base. Yeah, that's all that energy. That means Lambo knows exactly where this is. Also gives a big speed boost to those Lings and Banes when he does finally dive in on this. The Muta's going to dive in on top of this turret. Get a few kills here, mostly Widowmine kills, it seems. As the Mutas now have to run away. Doesn't look like there's any flank here or anything from Lambo, but he just needs to get on top of this. He needs to push this back. Widowmine's not going off on those few units that are sent forwards. Oh, and Lambo's going to go for it. Widowmine's getting dragged into a lot of those Marines, and the Banelings still mostly alive, but they're not getting the connections on those last groups of Marines, and the Thors are going to hold strong against the Mutas. GG. Clem's push just too strong there. Lambo had the economy, had the setup, but it was just not there in time to deal with that push. if he's able to keep that away for a little while longer. It's crazy that Clem did not care about being on creep. It's one of those things that you expect the creep to keep the Terran back a little bit, but Clem just pushed right into that position anyways. Didn't even bother scanning to clear it up. Just focused on taking the fight. And Lambo, I just don't think he had quite enough units out to get like a big surround or anything like that. The Widowmine's got some beautiful connections in that game. Clem's able to push through. Part of that is the mutas. Every time those mutas went in to do some damage on the other side of the map, they didn't really get anything done. They might have killed a couple SCVs or a couple mules or something, but it wasn't like they cleared a mineral line, forced a bunch of Marines to stim backwards, pulled Clem's focus so Banelings could connect. They didn't really get that kind of damage done, unfortunately. Hope you guys are having fun out there, enjoying these games. Game 2 is going to be on Babylon. We are loading in now. Hoping this one goes a little bit better for our Zerg. I like the idea of going for the mutas. Again, it is something we don't see super often, and maybe that's part of the reason. Clem was just going pure Marine mine at that point. It turns out that does counter mutas pretty hard. So, bit unfortunate there for our Zerg player, but let's get into game 2. Spawning in the lower right-hand corner. Up on match point, it is Team Liquid's Clem in the blue. His little blem. Gotta love it. His opponent in the upper left-hand corner in the red for the Shopify Rebellion. It's Lambo. Again, Clem not going for the low ground 2 racks. I wonder if that's a thing. Maybe if you guys watch more European StarCraft than I do, I don't get to watch a ton of like European based tournaments, things like that. So, and even when I do get to cast something like this or watch something, I feel like I don't see a ton of TVZs. But have you guys seen anybody in the last few weeks doing the low ground 2 gate in Europe? Hero Marine, Spirit, Clem, any of these guys? I'd be very interested to know how they feel about it and why they aren't leaning towards it. It's a very different opening. So we saw those Hellions and Banshees last game. A Hellion Banshee opener isn't really... You can do it, but it's not really ideal as a follow-up for that 2 racks opener. You go for a few Reapers, you can get into Banshees afterwards, but you're pretty much just hard locked into getting straight into those Marines. And there are a few different follow-ups, but they pretty much all revolve around on getting those Marines out, getting stim cooking. But it can be a very powerful thing, and I don't know, Beyond seems really confident in it. He does it almost every single game. I don't know if I've seen him not do the 2 racks opener against Zerg in the last few weeks, even like 2 months out of Beyond. Maro's been doing it a lot. I know Gumiho's adopted it, Cure's adopted it. It's really taken over as the meta in Korea, and they'll still bust out a Reaper opening every now and then, especially if they want to go for like a mech opening or to change it up. They'll often go for something like just a Hellion opener to keep it fresh. But it's definitely the less common build now in Korea. Anyways, I just think it's interesting. I like seeing the meta shift. It's also one of those things that I feel like maybe if you're a Hero Marine stream enjoyer, he's probably answered this question like, hey, why do you do this? Why do you not do this? I'm sure people have asked him. If not, I'd actually be interested in what Hero Marine's response would be. And it could just be simply they're more comfortable with this style. They're more used to it. They don't want to learn a new build when it doesn't seem to necessarily be better. And it's not necessarily better. It's really just different. That's kind of the beauty of meta. There's not always something that's better. A lot of times it's a different build. It's different for you to learn, but it's also different for your opponent to learn the responses. I think it could be very powerful to start busting out those 2-racks builds if, you know, Cyril and Raynor, Lambo, these guys maybe aren't as familiar with how to defend it as the Korean Zergs now are. Hellion's going to dive in, get a couple of kills here. The Reaper really looking for some damage. Really trying. Oh, these drones. They're like, we got you. It's only one hit. They got it. But 2 more Hellions show up. And a lot of these drones were low from that initial attack. 7 drones now going down. Reaper gets out of there. The Reaper also forced a bunch of buildings to be built and canceled. So trade-wise, this is actually very good for Clem. 504 minerals is what it ends up being. And now, I mean, he's still got a follow-up here. 2 more Hellions show up. He's got a Banshee hanging out. Cloak is almost done. Hellion's going to try to dive up again. Ling speed is done. There's a couple Lings out to make it a little more complicated. So looks like Clem's going to chill for now. They're on the way up for Lambo. Get into some of that tech. Spore Crawler. Just trying to bait the Banshee into the Spore Crawler. Clem, though, keeping just out of range. Ooh, he's going to dive in with the Hellions, though. Target down these Queens. A couple more Queens show up. The Banshee stays alive, though. Can do that extra DPS no matter how little hit points it has. Transfuse is available now. Going to keep these Queens alive for a little while longer. But Clem is not stopping the onslaught. He's going to keep on pressuring. He wants to kill these Queens. Diving into Spore range, losing 1 Banshee, the other one down to 5 hit points. The Hellions finally back up. He did kill 3 Queens, though. It was a very painful loss for Lambo. Queens obviously very important for spreading creep, for injecting bases. He has to remake those Queens. Desperately need a lot of Queens early game to deal with this kind of play. Behind this, of course, Clem is getting into 1-1 on his buying units. He's got combat shields on the way. I think Stim just finished up. So Clem's got a whole transition coming up behind this, and Lambo's still reeling from the damage this early game has done. Well, it looks like his 4th base should be able to get up. He's got a Hydra Den on the way this time, so he's playing a Lingbane Hydra style. It's going to be quicker upgrades. Still quite a bit behind Clem's, though. And this does worry me because Clem's going to hit a very powerful 1-1 timing. In fact, it looks like he wants to hit a timing before 1-1 and just start that pressure most ASAPly. Again, not worrying about scanning to clear the creep. He just doesn't care. Diving right on top of creep. He says, I don't care if your Queens are a little better, your Lings are a little better. I am just going to put this pressure on, and I'll lift up and get out when I need to. Max, one of them getting very low, though. Needs to be a little bit careful there. One is about to finish for him as well as combat shield. Look at how beautifully timed these upgrades are. How do you hit buttons that fast? That they're so close. Boom. Crazy. He hit all 3 of those buttons. How did he do that? Did he have the Tech Lab hotkeyed? He like must have. He must have had all 3 selected and gone and just like rolled his fingers on the keys. That's actually insane. Anyways, these Marines a lot stronger now, but with the Hydras out, a little bit more difficult to find that damage. Again, not clearing the creep, just diving straight in. That gives Lambo a lot of notice that this is coming. It also makes those Hydras quite a bit stronger. It's actually a really big buff for the Hydras and the Banes. The Marines no longer outpace the Banes with Stim. As soon as he gets off creep, Clem, of course, stutter step microing beautifully. Armory is done, so these Widow Mines are permanently cloaked. And Clem's got the pressure on the bottom side and the top side. He's killed a lot of those Banelings. ton more Lings on the way out for Lambo. Now, finally, some creep is being cleared. Oh, and the Spore Crawler moves up to clear those Widow Mines. Clem taking a 4th base while simultaneously stopping Lambo from comfortably expanding to a 5th. And this is the power of Clem. Just this oppressive pressure on both sides, standing just off creep, where the Banelings really don't want to come out and fight, where the Hydras have such a tough time trading against this kind of army. Especially without their range upgrade, which isn't done quite yet. Clem's moving in up here as well. Widowmine's getting targeted down. Nicely done by Lambo. The Marines so far just winning the fight right up until that Baneling connection, though. Speaking of Baneling connections, again, Lambo gets a couple good ones on the top side and the bottom side, forcing retreats in both areas. And that's really nice for Lambo. This is exactly what he needs. He needs the pressure to get pulled off of his back, but he needs to also not lose a bunch of units to Widow Mines. But the moment you think the pressure's gone, Clem pushes back in with a bunch of reinforcements on the top side. Lings coming up now to try to get the surrounds, with the Widow Mines connecting beautifully. It's been a big weakness of Lambo so far in this series, as those Widow Mines get great connections once again. Clem is going to have to lift up and get out of here, but now that has given him time to get this bottom side army in onto that creep, which has been pushed so far back. The 4th base is now in a lot of trouble. Drones getting pulled away, but they are right in the clutches of the Marines. Widow Mines going off. Oh my god, Lambo's going to get supply blocked here. There's so many Overlords. Good thing he's lost so many units. He's not going to get supply blocked. Widow Mines hit another great connection, and now Clem pushes in up top again. Lambo, his Hydras are here with a few Banelings, but still, Clem is trading so well, and this is on the same amount of workers. Lambo's got a 5th, but it's barely mining. The income is going to be almost dead even between the two of them. And Clem, he's just going to keep on pushing forward. His army is bigger. It's more microable. And Lambo just hasn't been able to take a good fight with the Ling Bane against this Bio army this entire series. He's gotten a couple decent Baneling connections, but for every Bane connection he gets, Clem snipes down 5 or 6 more Banes. And it's just, the trades have just not been there. Resources lost heavily in favor of the Terran at this point. And he's just going to keep on pushing through. The Marine Marauder a little too strong. The Baneling count not high enough. There's a bunch about to morph. Let's see if Lambo can get those connections he needs. It looks like he's pushing away that bottom side of the army. So it's just this side to focus on right now. Clem. Oh my god, but the Widow Mine connections are too good. There's so many mines. Every time you think they're gone, there's a few more. Concussive shells helping to target down these Banes, giving Clem so much breathing room on this army. Clem's taking a 5th base at the same time, and it looks like he still has some army down here to threaten and to hold if Lambo decides to try to put some counter pressure on. There's Marines here. There's Widow Mines here. Clem's still pushing on the top side. These Hydras, they don't want to fight this on their own. They're going to dive forward, but Widow Mines stopping them from pushing too far in. A couple of Overseers now. There's actually nothing to deal with these Overseers. This is pure Marauder army. And Widow Mines are just going to shoot the Overseers. Clem doesn't seem to be reinforcing this side, instead sending units down to the bottom side now, where he might continue pushing down here. Lambo has held. He is stable. His economy is not great, but he is alive. But his ghosts are coming out. Lambo does have Adrenal on the way. He's got +3 Carapace on the way. Starting to push this army back, but Clem is on that same level of tech. And god, these Widow Mines have just been brutal. 17 kills on this Widow Mine. Every time Lambo tries to push out off his creep at all, feels like Clem just punishes him. Another connection with a ton of Lings and Banes. We've got snipes going off on the Hydras. My voice is dying, just like Lambo's army in this game. Lambo still has more Lings and Banes on the way, but the economy of Clem is just getting out of control. Lambo trying to take down one of these command centers, but that's like an errant orbital. It's like an 8th or 9th orbital. Clem's got 2 more coming up in the middle. I'm hearing snipes go off. I don't even know what side that's on. Well, the Lingbane is diving in on top of this, but spreads are too good. Lambo taps out before that engagement even finishes up. GG. Clem looking a little too good there against Lambo. Taking down the last Zerg in today's EPT Cup. Clem will head to the finals where he faces another Terran. Which one is yet to be decided.